Good morning. Look at this, heading into a new chapter today, but we're still going to talk a lot about plants and animals in this chapter. Our main focus is going to be on kind of the places they live. We're going to call them ecosystems. I really would like if you'd open up page 78 to 81, especially starting page 78 right now. I really like the pictures in the book when it talks about ecosystems, and I'm going to show you your assignment because, as we said all week, you can pause many times, you can write down different things, and like I said, we're not done talking about plants and animals because this is your whole assignment. First of all, write down what it is, which we're going to talk about real soon, and then I'm listing a bunch of different ecosystems, and in each of those different ecosystems, you are going to need to write down one animal and one type of plant. One type of plant and two types of animals that you see in the ecosystem. As long as you find what an ecosystem is, if this thing will move, and here we go. You can copy this exact definition because this is a good one. An ecosystem is all the living and non-living things in an environment and the many ways that they interact. Now, if you want to take something here close to home with your ecosystem, you can definitely do that. If you think of our desert ecosystem, let's just take a lizard that might live outside your house there, right? A lizard comes into contact with a lot of living things. It eats animals. It might hide in the shade of a plant. Those are all things it interacts with or comes into contact with from day to day. But there's a lot of non-living things. The hole in the ground that it might live in or crawl into, that's not alive. It's just a hole in the ground. The dirt and the rocks that it goes around or on, those are all non-living or not alive. The air that it breathes, that's a pretty important part of the lizard's life, right? But air is not alive. The weather, not alive. So, don't just think of plants and animals when we talk about ecosystems. There's a lot of non-living things that matter too, right? But ecosystems could be very, very large, just like the desert we talked about. I mean, the whole part of Arizona, that's a desert. It could be one ecosystem, but it also could be very small. Okay, it could be just that cactus right up the hill from your house, right? And all the different things that interact. The cactus, that's alive. The owl that burrows in it, that's alive. The bugs that crawl up and down it, that's alive. The grass that's below it, that's alive. Those are all different living things that interact in just that small ecosystem. But it can also have a lot of non-living things, like the air, the carbon dioxide it breathes, the oxygen it gives off. The rocks and the dirt and the soil around it, the weather, all non-living things, and it could just be a small little ecosystem like that. You could pick the ecosystem in the dry riverbed down the road here from the mission school. Or again, it could be a huge ecosystem like the tropical rainforest, which we'll talk here soon. So now I want to kind of talk about all these different things here. When you think about a desert ecosystem, you can think about the animals, the plants, the fungi, even little things like the bacteria and the germs. All of them interact with things. If you think of our desert ecosystem, all the cacti, all the sagebrush, all the tumbleweed, all the grass, all that different stuff interacts with all the animals, all the coyotes, the snakes, the birds, the lizards, the ants. All interact with all the non-living things, the air and the rocks and the soil and the weather. It's all pretty important. But I also want you to focus on, don't forget about the non-living things. Those can make a big, big difference when you think about the non-living things in our desert ecosystem, because without air, none of these plants that you see would be around. Without the climate and the weather, I know it doesn't rain a whole lot here, but without any rain at all these plants wouldn't be here. We wouldn't even have an ecosystem, right? Now this is the important part when you think about ecosystems. You might hear on the scientific world a lot about adapting, and that can be used a lot when we talk about evolution, but it also is true about living things do adapt. There's a lot of truth to that as well. Not the evolution part, that's all wrong. But my whole point is what I'm writing right here. Living things can only survive in places where all their needs are met. Now, you think about this and think, okay, if I was a coyote, I need mice to eat, right? Or different things like that. I need air to breathe. I need water. If I live in a place with plenty of water and plenty of air, but no food to eat, if I'm that coyote, I can't stay there because I'm going to be hungry and I need something to eat. So all the needs need to be met. And again, God made certain animals for certain types of ecosystems or certain places. Some animals can only survive in certain ecosystems. Other animals can adapt very well. Think about a dog that you might have or know. There's dogs here, there's dogs in Minnesota, there's dogs in China, there's dogs in Australia, there's dogs all over, and I bet you if your dog that you know would go on a trip with you to basically country in the world, it could do just fine. Maybe you'd have to help feed it and things like that, but dogs are easily adaptable. Horses, I don't know if you guys knew this, but before the Spanish came over, there were no horses in North America. The Spaniards brought it over, and horses are doing just fine in North America. They adapted well. But think of our ecosystem here, right? Our desert ecosystem. It does have food to eat, not a lot of food, but different animals like the coyote has stuff to eat. But you start messing with the ecosystem and bring a polar bear down here, polar bears cannot adapt to our desert ecosystem. They just can't. God made them specifically for what we're going to talk about, the tundra ecosystem. That's how they survive well. That's how God made them. They cannot adapt to many other places or any other places. Some animals can just fine. Some animals cannot. But here's where especially your assignment is going to come into play, because remember, thinking about each ecosystem and these, I think the book is going to help you as well as these pictures will help you. You're going to need to write down one plant in each ecosystem. Some plants you might find in a lot of different ecosystems. Got to be careful because some plants you're not going to find in every ecosystem. You can't just write an apple tree for each one. It's not going to work. You don't see any trees, you don't see any apples in the desert here, right? Same with animals. You got to write down two different animals. If you're going to pick a coyote for each ecosystem, it's not going to work for a lot of ecosystems, right? Oh look, I even gave answers here, right? Desert is the driest of all ecosystems. You're going to see plants and animals like cacti, shrubs, coyotes, roadrunners, different things like that. All can do well in a desert, dry ecosystem with not a lot of water. Notice again the first sentence, the desert is the driest of all ecosystems. Not a lot of water. Yes, some water at certain times of the year, still not a lot, which is why generally you don't see a lot of greenery in desert ecosystems. You do from time to time, but generally it's not a lot of green. By the way, if you ever need some answers, you need to pause me for a little while to write down some answers. You definitely. By the way, the people that thought about grassland, they didn't think too long. They just said, hey, there's a bunch of land, there's a bunch of grass, let's call it grassland. And so they did. If you notice here, speaking of the plants, this grass down here is all vascular plants, but what do you not see? Not seeing a lot of trees. So if some of you guys are putting down oak trees for grassland, it's not going to work. You're going to get it marked wrong because it's not called tree land, it's called grassland. Please note, they get a medium amount of rain. A medium amount of rain meaning a lot of plants can survive on the amount of rain it gets, but trees that need to suck up huge amounts of water to survive don't do well in this type of ecosystem. Now, big, huge animals that eat a lot of grass, like buffalo, They do really well here because grassland has, yep, lots of grass. And where you have these animals that eat a lot of grass, you also have those carnivores or meat eaters that come in and eat a lot of those animals that eat just grass. So a lot of different types of animals. You see cows and buffalo, a lot of different grasses and small shrubs and things like that. And this is where you get into the grasshoppers, chickens, things like that. Oh, excuse me, I guess bison. Pardon me. Now, anyways, let's get into the tundra. If you are like me, you are okay never, ever, 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 ever going to the tundra because it's cold. It's cold. And if you notice here, cold and dry. Not as dry as a desert, but still dry. And you might think, wait a second. There's a lot of snow in the tundra. You're right. But a lot of plants can't live on snow. They need water. So it needs to be over 32 degrees, which in the tundra, it is hot. You're going to need your boots and your gloves and your beanie and everything because it's cold. Does that mean no plants and no animals are there? No, it doesn't. There are plants. There are plants. There are different animals. You might see different about the Arctic foxes and the caribou and things like that. And really there's not a whole lot of big tall plants. Grass and shrubs can grow there. Not a lot of trees. In fact, even in the tundra, even a lot of trees can't grow there. Take a look at especially the book there. I know I didn't give you a lot of plants here, but if you look in the book, the tundra does list a few plants there in the pictures there. It needs some specific work. Let's go to the forest. Now you need a little bit more greenery because in the forest, they do get some rain. They get rain periodically throughout the year. Now these forests will have really the 4 seasons. So I know everywhere has 4 seasons, but really distinct seasons here for the forest. They'll have a spring where there's a lot of rain, so the plants grow and bloom and everything. In summer, everything's green because it keeps raining. And fall, it gets less and less and colder. And you see how the leaves start to change in fall. And then winter, it's snow. Not a lot of growth for the plants, but it does when the snow melts in the spring. It waters the ground and it starts the whole cycle over again. And that's what these forests are. Forests, lots of grasses, lots of rain, lots of trees. Because those trees that suck up a lot of the rain, they have enough rain for them. And then, of course, if there's a lot of plants, you have a lot of those plant eater animals, right? And then, of course, there's different animals that like to eat other animals. And they have enough to eat too. So really a good diverse ecosystem for plants and animals because the herbivores or plant-eating animals have enough to eat. And then the carnivores, meat-eating animals, have enough to eat. That's why you have the deer, right? They're the ones that like to eat the plants. But then you have other things that likes to eat them, like bear and things like that. You're going to have foxes, raccoons, squirrels. Again, you're going to have grass and all kinds of different trees there. And if you want rain, and if you like a lot of plants and animals, then you're going to like the tropical rainforest. There's a reason it's called the rainforest, because daily, which means every day they get rain. If you ever see movies or pictures where you got this guy with this big knife cutting down things because there's not even a path to walk on because there's so much plants, because there's so much rain that they never have to worry about getting enough rain because they always get it every single day. If you like the color green, the tropical rainforest is for you. Showing that it gets a lot of rain. And here's again where you have the different animals like the parrots and the leopards and the monkeys. Animals you don't see in any other ecosystem because they can't survive. Because they need all the plants. They need all the animals that eat the plants. They need all those types of things. And we also have a lot of different that you won't find in any other ecosystem because those types of plants, they have to have water every single day. Pretty amazing. If you ever want to study a pretty neat ecosystem, the tropical rainforest would be what to study because there's a reason a lot of scientists go there because there's animals and plants you won't find any other place. I do strongly suggest, I know I didn't give you necessarily every answer, but a couple things with this assignment. Number one, look in the book. That'll help you with a lot of answers with this too. Of course, with this teaching video will. And number 2, please notice this has 2 pages for your assignment. 2 pages. So please make sure you complete both pages for this. Hey, Lord's blessings to you guys. Have a very wonderful day as you praise your Savior.